Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. Today we're going to learn how to use strip piecing to create an original quilt design. So if you want to go from this to this and learn how to use it in a design that you create, please stay tuned. You may know that I'm working on a quilt for my husband using one of his favorite team fabrics, and I'm using a very specific pattern that I designed using Microsoft Word. I'm going to put a picture of it right here. And if you look at that design, it looks like there are a lot of different pieces. You see lots of rows and lots of different squares and rectangles, and there are only 4 colors, but they're spread throughout the entire quilt. I'm going to take a minute and just show you that when I piece it, I'm just going to piece it into small blocks starting with 4 units and then gradually increasing to do the quilt top. So let me show you just 3 pictures of some basic blocks in the quilt. And what we can do, since it's a lot of repeating patterns, we can use strip piecing to help create that look and save me a little bit of time and trouble. What strip piecing is taking 2 strips of fabric, in my case, and sewing them together. And then from this strip, we're going to create our quilt units that look like this. And I'm going to show you how I cut those in just a minute. But I also I've cut everything else except for this one strip. So in my quilt you'll see white and gold, and so here's some white and gold, white and burgundy combinations, and more white and gold, and then some burgundy and gold, and that's what I'm going to be cutting here. So in just a minute I'm going to show you how I'm using these to create my design, but right now let's go to the cutting table and cut our fabric. I don't really like this part all the time because I feel like the headless quilter, but this way it's easier for me to cut and for you to see. I prefer to cut standing because it gives me a little bit more leverage and I can hold the rulers more steady. When I sit, the rotary cutter just kind of goes every which way. What you need are your 2 rulers, your 15-inch square ruler and your 6x24-inch rectangle ruler that we use every time when we're cutting, your cutting mat, and your rotary cutter. Now I have my 2 fabrics together. We're going to start with the burgundy and gold combination. So the first thing that I'm going to do is square off the fabric, and the way that I square it off is just pick one of these solid lines. I'm going to use the 7-inch yellow line there, and I'm going to place it on the in the seam. That's going to help to square it up the best, placing it in the seam. If you square it up with the edge, it may or may not work, but the seam in the middle, if you make sure that that's lined up perfectly, it's going to square it up for you. Just like every time, use your other ruler, press it up against it. Okay, and then move. I'm just going to slide the big ruler down and hold the little ruler in place and give it one quick cut to square it off. Now I'm going to make 4.5-inch units. So I'm going to just pick, like for this one, there's a 14-inch line here. And so I'm just going to line it up on the seam. And what I want to make sure of is that my 4.5-inch mark lines up perfectly with the edge. Okay, so you're looking for 2 things. You want the inch marker to be right on the seam, and the edge to be lined up with your actual measurement. If that's not the case, then you'll need to square off again. So I'm going to do one cut and then move that one out of the way, and then I'll do another cut, and I'll probably finish these off camera, but you see that this time I'm using the 13-inch. It doesn't really matter which one, just pick one. The 13-inch lines up here, and then the 4.5 lines up with the edge. Okay, let's do one more. Okay. Again, using the 13-inch mark. This one is working out well. Okay. and so on. I do want to show you that typically I've pressed these to the dark side. So in the long strip, after I stitched it, I pressed it, and so you can see that this one, the seam allowance is moving toward the gold. And I did that in every one except for the burgundy and gold. I actually pressed that towards the gold. And I'll show you why in another video, but that is really going to help as far as making sure those seam allowances are not right on top of each other. So I'm going to finish this off camera and I'll be right back. One of the cool things about this quilt is that it uses a lot of easy techniques, but the result is actually really amazing. So one thing I want to do right quick is show you just a few combinations that you just saw, and I want to show you what they look like with the fabric. So let's start with the one that has white and gold on the top and burgundy on the bottom. For this one, I used rectangles. I also have just some solid rectangles that I use, so I'm not just using strip pieces. I'm actually using some big pieces in this quilt as well. So if we start with white and gold on the top, and then the burgundy on the bottom. So when I piece it, this is what it'll look like. Okay? So the next one is, there's black on top, and then a white and gold underneath. So here's the black, and this one, you know, the white and gold, sometimes they're this way and sometimes they're this way. So that's why I need a whole bunch of those. And that doesn't look right. I might have to recut that one because it doesn't match the measurements. Let me try another one. Uh-oh. Okay. I will need to fix that in just a little bit. So I'll do that. Let's do, I don't know what happened. We'll fix it. So the last one is white and gold on top and white and gold on the bottom. And so for this one, it's going to be gold and white on top and then white and gold this way. Alright, and then if I turned it over, you'll see that the seam allowances go in opposite directions, and that's exactly what we want for our quilt. Okay? If you have any questions about making this quilt or about quilt designs or anything that you saw on this video, please comment below. Thumbs up the video, subscribe. There's one new subscriber I want to say hi to. Hi, and thank you for subscribing. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.